I live in a narrow house at the edge of the coastal megacity, where delivery drones argue with seagulls, and the neighbor's cleaning android sings off-key every Thursday. My life is structured around small, dependable rituals. Morning nutrient brew, afternoon repair work, evening silence. I fix domestic AI cores and recalibrate outdated defense subroutines for people who are too sentimental to upgrade. It's not heroic work. It's barely interesting work. But it's quiet. That's why I notice the silence first. The city never truly shuts up. There's always the hum of skytraffic lanes overhead or the distant pulse of orbital elevators aligning with the upper atmosphere. But that afternoon, the sound thinned, like someone had turned the universe's volume dial down a few cautious notches. Then the shadow crossed my window. It wasn't the usual courier craft or municipal patrol pod. It was large, sleek, matte black in a way that swallowed light instead of reflecting it. My home's exterior sensors flickered, hesitated, and then, very unhelpfully, restarted. "That's not ominous at all," I muttered. The ship didn't land so much as decide gravity was optional. It hovered above the street, displacing air in slow, deliberate waves. My neighbor's garden ornaments toppled over. A delivery drone attempted to assert right of way and immediately reconsidered its life choices. There was no insignia on the hull, but I recognized the silhouette from archived war feeds. I had watched those feeds the way everyone did, late at night, volume low, trying not to feel too small. The hatch opened without a sound. She stepped down as if the air itself was a staircase. The galaxy's most feared alien war champion looked, infuriatingly composed. She resembled a human woman at first glance, tall, balanced, movements precise, but the difference was unmistakable. Long ears curved elegantly upward from her head, tapering to subtle points, adorned with thin metallic rings that glowed faintly with embedded circuitry. Her skin carried a soft, luminescent undertone, like starlight resting just beneath the surface. Her eyes were not one color but many, shifting subtly as if reflecting distant constellations. She wore no visible armor. That was worse. The war feeds had shown her crossing battlefields where artillery turned cities into ash. She had ended wars by walking into command chambers and walking out alone. Entire regimes had collapsed after she delivered single, quiet ultimatums. And now, she was adjusting her sleeve like someone about to knock on a neighbor's door to borrow sugar. Which she did 3 measured knocks. I stared at my door. My home AI whispered, "Threat assessment inconclusive." "That's your way of saying we're doomed, right?" "Inconclusive," it repeated, which is AI for absolutely. I opened the door. Up close, she seemed taller, or perhaps gravity bent politely around her. The long ears angled slightly forward as she studied me, not with hostility but with focus so intense it felt like being scanned down to my atoms. "Good afternoon," she said. Her voice was calm, low, and perfectly modulated, not synthetic, not mechanical, just controlled. I considered several responses. "Hello, please don't vaporize me. I don't have any regimes for you to topple." What came out was, "You have the wrong address." Her lips curved almost imperceptibly. "I do not." That was not comforting. "I don't command fleets," I said. "I don't fund rebellions. I barely command my own appliance network." "I am aware." "Good. That makes this less awkward." She tilted her head, studying me in a way that felt both clinical and curious. One of the metallic rings along her ear flickered, projecting a faint holographic interface that dissolved before I could focus on it. "I require your assistance," she said. "There are sentences you expect to hear from the galaxy's most feared war champion. Surrender, kneel, prepare. I require your assistance was not one of them. "I fix household AI," I replied. "Sometimes I rewire antique defense drones for collectors who miss the aesthetic of danger. I am not strategically significant." Her gaze sharpened slightly. "You are more strategically significant than you believe." That sounded like the beginning of a very stressful week. Behind her, the hovering ship emitted a soft pulse of energy, distorting the air. I noticed subtle gravitational fluctuations. My wind chimes were swaying inward instead of outward. Whatever powered that craft wasn't standard fusion. You could have contacted the Planetary Council, I said carefully, or the Alliance Senate, or literally anyone with a uniform. I could have, she agreed. And yet you're here. Yes. I waited. She did not elaborate. I realized then that she was giving me the choice to ask. That's unsettlingly respectful, I admitted. You're supposed to be terrifying. I am, she said simply. That tracked. Up close I could see faint, nearly invisible lines along her skin, old scars perhaps, or something engineered. Not decorative. Earned. The war feeds had not exaggerated. So, I said, because humor is a survival reflex, is this about an appliance uprising? Because if my neighbor's dishwasher has finally achieved sentience, I owe it an apology. Her lips curved again, this time undeniably. No. Your neighbor's dishwasher remains loyal. Good. I couldn't handle betrayal on that scale. The long ears shifted slightly, catching ambient sound, or perhaps signals beyond my perception. Her eyes, those shifting constellations, settled fully on me. You possess data, she said, that was placed within you years ago. I blinked. I'm fairly certain I would remember that. You were not meant to. There it was. The moment the quiet life fractures, I laughed once, short and disbelieving. You're telling me I've been secretly carrying classified galactic information this whole time? That seems inefficient. It was necessary. For whom? For the survival of multiple systems. I stared at her. She stood there calmly, as if discussing weather patterns rather than the fate of star systems. Let me clarify, I said slowly. You, the individual who has ended wars by glaring at them, are asking for my help because I am apparently a walking data vault. Yes, and you couldn't just retrieve it. I could, she said. The air seemed to tighten. But I would prefer not to harm you. That was, in context, surprisingly considerate. I appreciate that, I said. I have plans this weekend. Her gaze flickered, almost amusement. I am not your enemy, she said. That's exactly what an enemy would say. True. We stood there in the fading afternoon light, my modest doorstep serving as the meeting point between a life built on routine and a legend who carried the weight of shattered empires. Why me? I asked, quieter now. For the first time, something shifted in her expression. Not calculation, not strategy, recognition. Because, she said, you asked for this. I'm going to need you to repeat that, I said. You asked for this, she replied. I asked for a lot of things, discounts, extended warranties, extra sauce packets. None of those resulted in orbital warships. Her long ears tilted slightly back, then forward again, as if calibrating patience. 7 years ago, you transmitted a signal beyond your planetary network. I complain online sometimes, I said carefully. That doesn't mean I intended to summon a galactic champion. It was not a complaint. That depends on how you define complaint. She lifted one hand. A faint lattice of light unfolded between us, a holographic interface dense with shifting symbols. Some were familiar, old human encryption protocols. Others were alien, elegant and curved like living mathematics. The lattice reorganized, isolating a waveform, my waveform. That's not possible, I said. It is archived in the outer conflict records. I don't even archive my tax documents. You should, she said. That's not the point. The waveform pulsed. I recognized the structure now, an old experimental transmission format I used to tinker with. Back when I still believed in improbable projects and late-night breakthroughs. I stopped working on deep space relays years ago, I said. Funding disappeared, interest vanished. I moved on. You completed the relay, she said. No. I built a prototype in my garage. It could barely reach the lunar grid. It reached us. I stared at her. That's statistically insulting, I said. Do you know how many layers of interference? Yes. How much cosmic radiation? Yes. How unlikely? Yes. I closed my mouth. The hologram shifted again, projecting a fragment of text embedded within the waveform. I remembered writing that line. I had been exhausted, frustrated with bureaucratic rejection letters and more than slightly dramatic. If anyone is out there and listening, I don't want power. I want the chance to make a difference. I felt heat crawl up my neck. That was aspirational, I muttered. It was received as consent. I did not consent to war. You did not, she agreed. You consented to involvement. That feels like a legal technicality on a galactic scale. It is. She let the hologram dissolve. So what exactly did I sign up for? I asked. Interstellar Volunteer Program. Do I get a badge, a commemorative mug? Her gaze sharpened. You embedded a quantum key within the transmission. No, I embedded a handshake protocol. It evolved. That's not how coding works. It is when exposed to adaptive stellar intelligence. I rubbed my face. Of course it is. The key integrated into your neural patterns, she continued. It remained dormant. You're telling me my brain has been hosting alien software. Yes. Does it at least pay rent? She did not answer that. I began pacing the narrow entryway. Why me? There are billions of people on this planet alone. Surely someone else sent a hopeful, mildly desperate signal into space. Many did, she said. Yours was different. How? You did not ask to be saved. I stopped. You asked to help. The words lingered in the space between us. I was younger, I said. You were honest. I didn't know which of those was more dangerous. From the street, a small crowd had gathered at a cautious distance. Someone was live streaming. The war champion at my doorstep was probably trending across 3 continents by now. You realize this is deeply inconvenient, I said. I have clients. You can reschedule. They get anxious when their home assistants start quoting existential philosophy. That is understandable. And what exactly does this key in my brain unlock? Her expression shifted, subtle but unmistakable. A failsafe. That's vague. A weapon. That's worse. It was designed to end a war that has not yet begun. I laughed once sharp. You're preparing for a war that hasn't started. We are preventing one. By using a weapon hidden in the mind of a civilian repair technician. You were not always a civilian. The statement landed like a stone. I have never been in the military, I said slowly. Not formally. Something cold threaded through my thoughts. Fragments of memory flickered. Late-night research contracts, encrypted communications, meetings that had ended abruptly when funding vanished. You're saying my old relay project wasn't just ignored, I said. It was redirected. Yes. By whom? By those who understood what you had built. And they didn't think to mention the alien war contingency. They believed the key would remain theoretical. And now it's not. No. Silence pressed in. Why can't you activate it yourself? I asked. It is keyed to your cognitive signature. Your intent is required. That feels like a design flaw. It was deliberate. By who? She held my gaze. By you. I stared at her. That's not funny. It is not meant to be. A faint tremor rippled through the air. Her ship responded instantly, energy fields tightening. What was that? I asked. Surveillance, she said. Yours or someone else's? Someone else's. Of course. Her long ears angled sharply toward the sky. For a moment her eyes shifted faster, colors cascading like distant nebulae. They have detected my presence, she said. They meaning those who would begin the war. I exhaled slowly. And let me guess. The only way to stop them involves me leaving with you. Yes. Immediately. Yes. I glanced back into my quiet house. The nutrient brewer was still humming. A half-disassembled service drone sat on my workbench, waiting for a replacement actuator. I just restocked groceries, I said weakly. We can replicate nutrients aboard my vessel. It's not the same. She stepped slightly closer, not threatening, not imposing, just present. You asked to make a difference, she said. This is that moment. I searched her face for arrogance, manipulation, coercion. I found none, only certainty. And if I say no, I asked. Her answer came without hesitation. Then I will leave. That's it. Yes. And the war. It will proceed. No pressure at all. You are remarkably calm about placing existential responsibility on a man who argues with his own refrigerator, I said. You argue effectively, she replied. Despite everything, I felt a laugh push through. The air tremored again, stronger this time. Somewhere above the cloud layer, something moved fast. They are closer, she said. Fantastic. She extended her hand, not a command, an invitation. You will not face this alone, she said. I looked at her hand, at the faint glow beneath her skin, at the long, elegant ears that marked her as something beyond human and yet somehow deeply familiar. 7 years ago I had asked for a chance. I had not specified scale. This is the worst impulsive decision of my life, I muttered. Unlikely, she said, comforting. I took her hand. The moment my hand closed around hers, the world did not explode. It folded. One instant I was standing in my doorway contemplating the catastrophic consequences of poor life choices. The next, gravity politely excused itself. Are we? I began. Yes, she said. Yes what? Already aboard. I hate efficient technology. The interior of her ship did not hum or flicker. It existed with quiet confidence. The air felt lighter, as if it had been filtered through something that judged impurities personally. You could have warned me about the folding, I said. You would have hesitated. Correct. She released my hand. The faint warmth lingered longer than physics suggested it should. A curved interface emerged from the floor in front of us, responding to her presence. Symbols spiraled upward, alien and beautiful and deeply not user-friendly. Welcome, champion, the ship said. The voice was neutral but layered, as if multiple tones spoke in harmony. And guest, it added after a fractional pause. See, I said, even your ship had to think about it. It is cautious, she replied. Smart ship. She moved her fingers through the floating symbols. Space bent outward around us, not physically, but perceptually. A three-dimensional projection of the surrounding sky unfolded. I saw my city shrinking below, the coastline curving, clouds parting. You cloaked? I asked. Yes. Good, I'd rather not be the reason the planet panics. You already are trending. Of course I am. The ship accelerated without the sensation of motion. My stomach remained loyal to me, which I appreciated. Where are we going? I asked. To the Veil. That sounds dramatic. It is. Is it a bar? Because I could use one. It is a boundary. Of course it is. The planet fell away entirely. Stars sharpened. Then they stretched. I grabbed the nearest solid surface. That's not how stars behave. We are transitioning through compressed space. That's not how space behaves. It does now. The stars elongated into threads of light, then braided into something that resembled a corridor made of constellations. This is deeply irresponsible, I muttered. You prefer conventional propulsion? She asked. Yes, with noise and fear, familiar fear. She almost smiled. The ship's voice spoke again. External probes detected. That was quick, I said. Do they send welcome baskets too? They are scanning for my signature, she said, and finding it. Yes, wonderful. A ripple passed through the braided corridor ahead of us. Is that supposed to happen? I asked. No, that's my least favorite answer. Her long ears angled sharply, the metallic rings along them glowing brighter. Her eyes shifted rapidly, reflecting calculations I could not see. They have deployed anticipatory drones, she said. Anticipatory, I repeated. As in they anticipated you. Yes, that feels rude. The ship altered course. The corridor twisted. I clutched the surface tighter. Please tell me this vessel has insurance. It does not require it. That is not reassuring. A cluster of dark shapes formed ahead, interrupting the luminous passage. Those are the drones, I asked. Yes, they look aggressive. They are. The ship's voice shifted subtly. Engagement threshold. Minimal, she said. Minimal. I echoed, define minimal. The ship emitted a pulse. No explosion, no blaze of weapons fire. The dark shapes simply unraveled. They dissolved into fragments of dim light, scattering like startled insects. I blinked. You disassembled them. Yes. At a molecular level, yes. That seems excessive for minimal. It is efficient. I need to recalibrate my definition of excessive. The corridor stabilized. You realize, I said carefully, that if they anticipated you, they might anticipate where you're going. They do. And that doesn't concern you. It does. Good. I was worried you'd lost all survival instincts. They are counting on me to engage directly, she said, which you won't. No, because we're going to this veil boundary thing instead. Yes. To activate the weapon in my brain. Fascinatingly simplified, but yes. I exhaled slowly. You keep saying weapon, I keep imagining something large and explosive. It is neither. That's worse. She glanced at me. You are handling this well. I am dissociating productively. That is useful. The braided corridor began to thin. Stars resumed their proper positions. Ahead, space darkened, not the absence of light but the presence of something denser. That's the veil? I asked. Yes. It looked like a fracture in reality. A vast seam where the universe had been stitched imperfectly. Tell me that's natural, I said. It is not. Good. I'd hate to think the cosmos just casually tears itself open. It was created during the first convergence. That sounds like something I should have learned about in school. Your educational systems do not include it. Of course they do. And risky, yes, because once they're exposed, they'll know you did it. They already assume, and they'll know I did it. She met my eyes. Yes, I swallowed. Remind me why I agreed to this. You wanted to make a difference. I really need to stop making broad statements to the universe. The ship halted at the edge of the veil. The fracture pulsed faintly as if aware of us. You will feel the key respond, she said. I'm not thrilled about that. It will not harm you. You've said that before. And it was true. That's a dangerously comforting track record. She stepped closer, not imposing, just steady. When the key activates, you must choose, she said. Choose what? Whether to release it. You mean I can still say no? Yes. Even now, even here. The veil pulsed again, brighter. Something stirred at the edge of my thoughts. A pressure behind my eyes, a resonance I had never noticed before. I feel something, I admitted. That is it, she said softly. The ship dimmed its interior light. The universe beyond seemed to lean closer. You are not a weapon, she said. You are a witness. That's supposed to be reassuring. Yes. The pressure intensified, not pain but awareness. Patterns unfolded in my mind, complex, interlocking structures that had been dormant for years. Oh, I breathed. You see it, she said. Yes. Data, networks. Hidden signals layered beneath galactic communications. Intent disguised as diplomacy. War plans seeded across systems like quiet infections. They're everywhere, I said. Yes. And if I release this, they will all be visible. To everyone. No more shadows, no more quiet manipulations. I laughed softly, incredulously. You dragged me across the galaxy to push a universal reveal-all button. In essence, that's almost anticlimactic. It will not feel that way to them. The pressure sharpened. I could release it, or I could step back. I looked at her, the most feared war champion in the galaxy, waiting, not commanding, waiting. You really are terrifying, I said. I know. I focused inward on the key, on the choice. Next time I send a hopeful message into space, I muttered, I'm specifying low-stakes involvement. Noted, she said, and I decided. I released it. There was no explosion. No beam of catastrophic light. No dramatic orchestral swell. There was a sound, though not external but internal. A resonance that moved through my thoughts like a tuning fork struck against the bones of the universe. Oh, I said. Across the veil, something answered. The fracture in space rippled outward, not tearing wider but clarifying. Layers peeled back. Signals that had once blended into background cosmic noise sharpened into distinct threads. They're lighting up, I whispered. Yes, she said. They really thought no one would notice. They relied on fragmentation. That's optimistic. Streams of data flooded my awareness, not overwhelming but precise. Hidden fleets disguised as cargo convoys. Military AI nested inside civilian governance systems. resource stockpiles quietly diverted to unregistered coordinates. They weren't preparing for defense, I said. No. They were preparing for dominance. Yes, I swallowed, and now they are visible. As if in answer, the ship's voice shifted. Incoming transmissions, multiple systems, Alliance Council, independent coalitions, civilian networks. That was fast, I said. People really hate being manipulated. They do, she replied. The first transmission forced itself to priority. A chorus of voices overlapped: shock, outrage, disbelief. Is that? One voice began. Confirmed, another said. The signatures match. They were among us. They are among you, I corrected automatically. She glanced at me. What? I said. Grammar matters in historic moments. The chorus intensified. Champion, the ship intoned, requests for clarification. She did not respond immediately. You're not going to claim credit, I asked. No, you're the galaxy's most feared war champion. This is your brand. This is not about fear. Marketing opportunity wasted. Her long ears angled slightly toward the incoming signals, then back to me. You understand what you have done? She asked. I pressed the cosmic transparency button. You remove their advantage. That's going to make them upset. Yes. As if summoned by the word, another alert pulsed. Hostile mobilization detected, the ship said. Of course, I muttered. Exposure rarely inspires gratitude. The veil trembled. They are attempting to destabilize the boundary, she said. That sounds catastrophic. It could be, and I assume that's bad for reality. Yes. I just wanted to confirm. The fracture pulsed harder, waves of distorted space pushing outward. They can't hide anymore, I said, so they're going to force the war now. That is likely. And this failsafe doesn't stop that part. It was never designed to fight for you. That's inconvenient. It was designed to give you a choice. Humanity loves those. The hostile mobilization signals multiplied. I felt them like static at the edge of my mind. The same network I had just illuminated now buzzing with frantic recalculations. They're scrambling, I said, trying to spin the narrative. They will claim fabrication. Hard to fake multi-system telemetry. They will try. A new voice cut through the transmissions, clear and authoritative. Champion, it said, stand down. You have overstepped your mandate. She did not flinch. That's one of them, I said quietly. Yes, they're not even subtle. They no longer need to be. The veil shuddered violently. Structural integrity declining, the ship announced. Define declining, I said. 58% and falling. Unacceptable, I just got here. She stepped closer to the interface. If the veil collapses, she said, the concealed fleets will have direct passage. So we prevent collapse. Yes. How? She looked at me, I pointed at myself. Why are you looking at me? The key is still active. I thought the reveal was the point. It is, but the network remains linked to you. That feels like a feature you should have mentioned. You are adapting well. That's not an answer. Another tremor. 42%, the ship said. Okay, I said quickly. What can I do? You can stabilize the network. I repair household AI, remember. You designed the relay that reached us. By accident. Accidents reveal capacity. That's inspirational and unhelpful. The fracture flickered, fragments of dark energy snapping like broken wires. 35%, the ship said. I closed my eyes. The network was still there, threads of light connecting systems, signals layered over signals. The same pathways that carried deception could carry something else. What if, I began, instead of letting the veil bear the stress alone, we distribute the load? She watched me carefully. Through the exposed channels, I continued. They're all connected now, all watching. Yes. Then we make them participants. In what way? In stabilizing the boundary. She tilted her head. If every system that just received proof of manipulation reroutes power, computational capacity, field generators, whatever they have, into reinforcing the veil, it stops being your problem alone. It becomes collective, she said. Exactly. Harder to destabilize 1,000 synchronized defenses than one. She considered it for a fraction of a second. "Transmit the request," she ordered the ship. The ship complied instantly. Across the network, my voice carried with it, not amplified, just present. "If you're listening," I said, "and I assume you are because everyone loves a crisis, we have a shared problem. The veil is destabilizing. If it collapses, the fleets you just discovered will have a shortcut. So unless you're fond of surprise invasions, I suggest you contribute power to the coordinates now broadcasting." There was a pause, then responses, hesitant at first, then decisive. "Power rerouting confirmed," the ship said. "Additional systems joining. Stabilization fields forming." The veil's tremors lessened. "Integrity rising," the ship continued. 41%, 53, 60. I exhaled slowly. "You just crowdsourced cosmic defense," she said. "I work well in community settings." The hostile voice returned, sharper now. "You cannot hold it indefinitely." "We don't need indefinitely," I replied. "Just long enough for everyone to see you clearly." Silence from their end. 78%, the ship said. The fracture steadied, its pulse evening out. "They miscalculated," I said softly. "Yes," she agreed. "They assumed fear would keep everyone isolated. They relied on division, and now they're exposed and outnumbered." "Yes." The veil stabilized at 92% integrity. The hostile signals began to retreat, not disappearing, but shifting into defensive patterns. "They're pulling back," I said. "For now," she replied. "For now is good," I said. "I'm new to this." The transmissions from the wider network changed tone. Less panic, more coordination, plans forming openly instead of in shadows. "You didn't just expose them," she said quietly. "You unified those they sought to divide." I snorted softly. All I did was refuse to let space tear open on my first day. That is often enough. The ship dimmed its alerts. The veil held. I opened my eyes fully and looked at her. "So," I said, "does this mean the immediate galactic war is postponed?" "Yes. Postponed is my favorite outcome." She studied me with that same intense focus as the first time she stood at my door. "You have altered the trajectory of multiple systems," she said. "I'm putting that on my resume. You intend to return home." The question caught me off guard. I hesitated. "I have groceries." She almost smiled again. "The network will not forget you," she said. "That sounds ominous. It is recognition." The stabilized veil pulsed gently, no longer a wound but a scar. "They'll regroup," I said. "Yes. And next time they'll be smarter." "Yes." I folded my arms. "Good," I said. Her ears angled forward slightly. "I prefer honest opponents," I continued. "It's easier to argue with them." For the first time since she appeared at my doorstep, she laughed, not loudly, but genuinely. And somewhere across the network, 1,000 systems recalibrated their understanding of what an ordinary human could do. We did not leave immediately. That surprised me. I assumed once the veil stabilized and the hostile fleets retreated into embarrassed silence, we would either be chased across collapsing star lanes or celebrated with dramatic orchestral music. Instead, there was paperwork. Not literal paper, that would have been insulting, but agreements, confirmations, emergency councils forming in real time across the network. "You're staying?" I asked her. "For a short duration," she said. "To supervise, to observe." That's less intimidating wording. She stood beside the interface as representatives from system after system appeared in projected light. Some thanked her. Most thanked me. I was deeply uncomfortable with that ratio. "I pressed a button," I told one coalition leader. "You revealed the truth," they replied. "Same thing. It is not." I muted the channel and looked at her. "I don't feel like someone who just altered galactic politics," I admitted. "What do you feel like?" she asked. "Like a technician who accidentally fixed the wrong thing and ended up repairing the entire grid." That is accurate. That's not comforting. The exposed conspirators attempted a narrative counterstrike. Claims of forged telemetry, claims of overreach, claims that the champion had manipulated events. It didn't stick. Too many systems had seen the data firsthand. Too many had contributed to stabilizing the veil. Shared effort does something powerful. It rewrites fear into ownership. They've lost control of the story, I said. Yes. And without secrecy, their war collapses before it starts. Yes. So what happens to them? She watched the shifting network. They will be contained, she said. Some will face trial, some will lose influence, some will attempt to rebuild in subtler ways. Subtler is annoying. It is survivable. The Alliance Council formally voted to establish a permanent veil cooperative, shared oversight, shared responsibility, shared monitoring. They asked me to advise. I laughed out loud. I repair domestic AI, I reminded them. You understand distributed networks, one counselor replied. You understand unintended consequences, another added. That's not a skill, that's a lifestyle. They did not find that as funny as I did. When the final votes concluded and the emergency protocols shifted into long-term frameworks, the ship quieted. It is done, she said. For now, I corrected. For now, she agreed. Silence settled between us. Not tense. Just reflective. You could have activated the key yourself, I said. No, you're telling me there was no backup plan. There were contingencies, she said. None as effective. That's irresponsible leadership. It is trust. I studied her. You trusted someone you never met, I said. I trusted the message you sent. 7 years ago. Yes, I was frustrated and idealistic. You were sincere. I leaned against the interface. I stopped believing that message, I admitted. After the project was buried, after funding disappeared, I told myself it was naive. And now, she asked, now, I thought about the veil stabilizing because strangers chose cooperation over fear. I thought about hostile fleets retreating not because they were destroyed, but because they were seen. I think naive might be underrated, I said. Her ears angled slightly forward. You have changed, she said. I left my house voluntarily, I replied. That alone is character growth. She almost smiled. A final transmission request came through my planet. I hesitated. You should answer, she said. Everyone saw your ship, I muttered. They know I left with you. They also saw the result. I accepted the channel. My neighbor appeared first, hair disheveled, expression equal parts outrage and awe. You left with her, he said. Yes. You didn't even lock your door. I was distracted by galactic stakes. The dishwasher glitched twice. I knew it would betray us. Behind him, city officials and media feeds crowded in. Are you safe? Someone asked. Yes. Are we in danger? Less than we were yesterday. What did you do? I paused. I reminded some very powerful people that secrets expire, I said. It sounded more confident than I felt. When the call ended, I turned back to her. So, I said slowly, this is where you drop me off and disappear dramatically. If you wish. You're not staying to oversee the cooperative. I am no longer required in that role. Because the most feared war champion solved the problem. Because others are now capable of solving it together. That landed differently. You're stepping back, I said. Yes. That's healthy. It is strategic. We stood in the quiet hum of her ship. You could come with me, she said. I blinked. Come with you where? There are other fractures, other systems in imbalance. You're offering me a job. I am offering you purpose. I laughed softly. You're very direct. It reduces confusion. I thought about my small house, my nutrient brewer, the half-disassembled service drone waiting patiently on my workbench. I thought about the network that now carried my cognitive signature as part of its architecture. I don't think I can go back to pretending none of this exists, I admitted. You do not have to. But I also don't want to become you. You cannot, she said calmly. That's reassuring. You are not a weapon. I'm a witness, I said. Yes, and sometimes a technician. That also, I considered the offer. Do I get time off? I asked. Yes. Define time off. Yes. Clear boundaries about existential responsibility. She hesitated. Negotiable. I sighed. You are remarkably persuasive for someone who could conquer systems by force. Force is inefficient. Agreed. I straightened. "Okay," I said, "I'll help, not as a champion, not as a weapon, as someone who understands networks and consequences." She inclined her head slightly. "Accepted. But," I added, "I am visiting home regularly, and I am locking my door." "Reasonable." The ship shifted course, not toward battle, toward